this is a young man's game. I don't care what anyone says. I mean, this is an age of Lunsford's in like that pop right now. He's like right at that age, end of his 20s, early 30s. In our era, Dave, who we admired, the Haneys and Yateses, and I mean, those guys retired into their early 30s, maximum mid 30s. I mean, Lee Dauda stepped away. Now, you know, ever since Dexter Jackson, you know, brought back like the who was really good late. I guess
Roden won the Olympia.
Well, Roden did too, but also who was Albert Beckles competed in his 50s, right?
He was 60 supposedly.
Yeah. Exactly. But listen, man, the bodies are a lot bigger now. Yeah. I think it's just the competition is just a lot more on the line. It's more of a lifestyle. It's what people do day in, day out. I think that it's a young man's game, man. I'm going to say that till the end of time. And, you know, that's where you have the advantage.
The skin just doesn't look the same when you get a little older. I don't know what it is. If it's this aging process, but you know, like Lunsford's got that like shrink wrapped look. Nick Walker's got that shrink wrapped look. It's like the skin is so tight around their muscles, you know, and you lose that, I think, when you get older. You know, not many people. Dexter was probably one of the few people who kept it. And I think that's why he kept doing so well into his, you know, late 40s.
And then listen, and you can change time a little bit if you start a little later. I mean, us dominant teenage bodybuilders, we're going to peak into your late 20s and early 30s. Now, if you start at in your late 20s, because listen, Samson's getting better, dude, and he's closer to the end of his 30s, right?
Andrew too. Andrew Jack too.
So I think it's sometimes when you start a little later, you defy time a little bit. But us early people, it's just it's really hard to really peak.
Let's talk about Andrew Jack and Samson Dauda, because here's two guys that were in the Olympia last year, but weren't a factor in the top 5. Then Samson comes back, wins the Arnold. Andrew obviously finishes 3rd, then he wins Texas. Making leaps and bounds of improvements. Obviously, Andrew working with Chris now, Milos working with Samson. I mean, when you look at these guys, you know, from an outsider standpoint with your expertise, I mean, if these guys nail their conditioning on stage, I mean, you have to consider them super dangerous. I mean, Lee Haney said it, good big man always beats a good little man, right?
Yeah, I mean, you think of Mr. Olympia, what do you think about? I mean, Mr. Olympia walks in the room and you're like, wow, that has to be the guy, right? Those guys take total position of that. I mean, I hate every year trying to figure out, okay, well, you know, Andrew and Samson were in the back end out of the top 6 last year, right? Yeah. These guys potentially could be banging at the door or win it and be right there in 1-2 position, 3-4. I mean, really, anything goes. And I know people harp on, they need to get in better condition, but if they do nail it, Dave, it's a very problematic spot for these guys. They can easily come in and win this contest. Listen, Andrew could have won the Arnold Classic, and I don't think a lot of people would have complained. Did he need a little more mass? Probably in some poses, yes. But you know, when you look at structure and tie-ins and all that other stuff, he's pretty dominant there. And I mean, I think Nick Walker could have won it if you had, you know, that mindset of that's the physique that should win. But Samson was the winner. I think he's dramatically improved. Now, what it lands on the Olympia stage is the big question. And how can Andrew Jack not be better working with Chris another time around now? You know, once you get used to that body, you know, you're a dietitian, you know. Once you learn someone's physique, it should become a little easier as long as they're listening. And I mean, Andrew's in training camp listening. The question is, you know, what everyone else is going to look like standing next to these guys that are 6 feet or over.
6'4", I think Andrew is, right? Or something like that.
I think 6'2", maybe, but dude, he's
crazy.
Yeah. I mean, you know a little more than me on how he looks. He's been hidden, so we're not talking as much. I mean, I haven't seen, Nick Walker's the only one that's like in your face every morning when we wake up on Instagram.
Right.
So,
but I mean, when you see a guy like Andrew Jack, I mean, mean, as a judge, I mean, how do you not, want to put that guy first? I mean, that's like, who could sit on their abs at that height and that weight, and have better abs than the smaller guys? I mean, it's incredible, right?
You just asked me why I don't miss the competition, Dave. You think I'd want to deal with Andrew Jack or Samson? Yeah.
No, it's scary. There were no big. You were the big guy. You were the big guy.
Tony Freeman was the big man, right?
That's true, Tony.
And he finished 4th in 2008. I think you were helping him then.
Yeah. I thought he could have won that show.
He could. Listen, once again, I would have told you right then, no, because no, but. Today, yeah, he could have. Dennis Wolf, I mean, another tall guy. I mean, he had a lot. He came into his own. I mean, these guys are just genetic marvels, man.
Yeah, it's like Wolf had his weakness was he had like a little bit of a high lats, and he had those long, his glutes and hamstrings weren't terrific. Although the rest of him was incredible on stage.
Once he's put it together, though, Dave, he came in a couple years.
Yeah, he nailed it a few times.
It was time, but yes, you're right. I mean, you're looking at guys that genetically are better than what he was, and
that's what I mean.
I mean, I think he was 3rd one year. So, man, this is going to be. I mean, I think Samson. I would probably choose him right now to win that battle this year, but that doesn't mean it's forever.
I mean, let me pull this up. Hold on. Yeah, let me pull this footage up here of Andrew. I mean, that looks like Lee Haney posing right there. I mean, and the guy's 6'2" or bigger. I mean, how do you beat something like that? I mean, I wouldn't want to stand next to that. That's for sure. He's got glutes, hams.
I mean, and the funny thing is Andrew's so fresh to all this, right? I mean, he hasn't been competing a long time. He was more of a strength Instagram athlete, and of course now bodybuilding. I mean, he came in full force, and granted, it was close between him and Hunter at that Texas show. Yeah. But once Andrew gets that polish and he really, I think, gains a little more confidence, he really could be something this year if things align right.
As a judge, it's got to be hard. You get a guy like Andrew or Samson up there, and you put him next to reigning Mr. Olympia Hadi Chupon, and next to Derek Lunsford, next to Nick Walker. I mean, that's a pretty crazy, weird, set of bodies you have to judge. I mean, it's not easy. I mean, because they're all completely different physiques.
And you know what? This could be the year that we assume the top 2 we have to position them 1, 2 based on last year's. But listen, those guys could come in and push those guys right out to 3rd and 4th, because it is a big consideration of different physiques. And this era, Dave, I just don't know if there's going to be any long-term champions. We're going to see the 7-8s anymore. We're going to see the 6s. That's a big question mark. I mean, with the talent, I say this every year, but I feel this year more than ever, man, that top 6, Dave, is something else, right?